Hello and welcome back to GI Live Online. My name is Chris and I run GamesIndustry.biz, and we are joined by indie royalty here today. Human Fall Flat has been a breakout hit for developer No Breaks Games and publisher Curve, with 25 million copies sold worldwide. And it's getting bigger every single year. And we are joined both by the creator, Tomas Sakalauskas, I think I've got that right, hopefully got that right, and Curve's VP of Franchise Publishing, Rowe. Hello, guys. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Good to be here. Yeah, good.
It's been an exciting journey for the pair of you. Why don't we start at the beginning? Because I think there might be some people that don't know the Human Fall Flat story. And so, Thomas, where did the whole idea for it come from? Where did it start?
Well, I was experimenting, as usually, with gameplay mechanics, and I wanted to make a character controller where you could control arms independently using Intel RealSense device. And I was playing with active ragdoll, and then I saw that configuring it for controller made a quite fun, interactable human to play with. And I wanted to do some puzzles in the spirit of Portal meets Limbo with that character, but then gave it for playtesting, and it was more than just puzzles. My kid tried to parkour his way around, work around puzzles, everything what you can come up with instead of trying to solve puzzles. So yeah, it was born as physics experiment to make active ragdoll.
Wow! So your kid helped you to develop the game.
Yeah, actually, he changed the direction quite a lot.
Kids have the power for that. When did Curve get involved then? When did you meet Curve? And either of you can answer that. But Thomas, when did Curve get involved?
Well, I initially launched the game on itch.io, paid prototype, to start collecting feedback from a bigger audience than just my kid. And I started marketing the game, trying to get audience to that. And then I saw that it takes quite a bit of my time. So I packed my things and went to a couple of events, trying to find potential publishers. And at Pocket Gamer Connect, I met with Curve and we started discussing. And I saw them being potential help to move further along.
Gary, what was it that made you go, right, we've got to get this?
Well, I joined just after Human Fall Flat had started to really take off. But from talking to Simon Byron, who was the executive who acquired the game, he just took a look at it and just liked it. He loved playing it. He thought the puzzles were great. He just saw something in it. But I think he would admit that for him it was a really interesting single player puzzler game that Curve were buying into. And when Thomas then, I think Thomas and Curve were very, very happy with the initial sales of the game, even though by our current standards they're quite modest. It was decent business. We were both making some money, and that really allowed Thomas to spend a further year coding in multiplayer, and that's when the game really took off. So that was late 2017. It really took off through that Christmas period. And then I joined early in 2018 to try and help them manage this game that was looking like it was going to be a really big hit. But Thomas, I mean, you can probably speak to a bit about how and why that multiplayer thing was so important to you in that time.
Well, initially I didn't think about multiplayer at all. Original prototype was only single player, but then people kept asking to make co-op. And I implemented co-op and could not stop laughing playing the game after that point, because I played with my friends, with kids. I saw other people's playing. So it changed even more from being linear puzzle to open-ended puzzle into something where you can do funny stuff with your friends. And people kept asking about multiplayer, but I said, no, I cannot do that because it's physics and it's very difficult to implement distributed physics. To give an example, if I take a box and I pull it one direction and you're pulling the box another direction at 200 millisecond delay, it could be meter or more where I see the box and you see the box. So I thought, okay, it's simply not possible. And I was giving this example to my players and they were quite happy with the answer. But then two streamers played the game using NVIDIA's video stream somehow. And they were playing on opposite sides of the ocean and were quite happy with their experience. And I thought, okay, if they can play it by just seeing the video, which is delayed quite a lot, because for video stream, we have to compress everything, send playback and so on. I could do really optimized version where I just send a physical object state. So essentially one computer is playing the game and there is just broadcasting, but instead of video, I'm sending physical state. And they encouraged me to do multiplayer. That's how multiplayer came.
That's fascinating. You know what? I don't want to. This is airing before the next interview. The next interview, I've got VLAN Studios. They're making that dodgeball game, and and when they began with that, they said, "Why has no one ever made a game of catch before in a multiplayer game of catch before?" Why? And then they discovered the same thing that you were talking about at the top of that it's really hard because any physics-based games to do that in. That's really good. So I take it then for maybe you didn't have an initial vision for the game, but your vision for the game and where it was going to go changed quite drastically then as the community got involved and the feedback you received. Is that right?
Yeah, so original vision was even when I knew it's no longer just a single player puzzle game, but co-op and a more puzzle game. I wanted to continue that way, adding more puzzles, working on co-op solutions for the game. But with community, the vision changed even more towards a goofy type of sandbox where you not just solve puzzles, but more having fun than solving puzzles.
When you created new levels and stuff, I understand that a lot of it came, though, that did come from you. You know, it's things that you were experienced about and interested in. Is that right?
Yeah. So creating levels, I still, even being goofy game, I did everything as simulation. So, for example, boats in the game, they are using hydrodynamics and follow all the laws of that. Even oars that you use to paddle the boat, they calculate aerodynamic or hydrodynamic force, and this is what propels you forward. So there are actually very few things that are scripted, as in script, where you write a script. This is how the game will progress. It's more what players will end up by following physics rules. So yeah, most of the systems were interesting to me, including sail. I'm a windsurfer, so for me there was yacht. Swimming in the water, so I could adjust the angle of attack for the sail, see which way the wind goes, and try to use inertia of that to navigate that. Electricity systems are also implemented using Ohm's laws as a system and everything. So yeah, all those systems are more or less simulated. And this was fun to work instead of trying to craft very rigid experience. How things will progress, you are thinking more in terms of systems, creating stuff, and then see players do with it whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. So how does the relationship work between the two of you then? So is it that Tomas says, hey, I'm going to do this, and then Curve jumps, or is it a little bit more collaborative than that?
Well, I mean, maybe I can answer that. And Tomas, you can disagree with me if you think I've got it wrong. I mean, when I first met Tomas in 2018, I think it's fair to say that he was tired. You know, he'd been working so hard on the game and had huge success, and just really wanted a creative and an emotional break from the game, I think. So we took over production. We started working with UK-based developers Sumo. We've worked with D3T. We're back with Sumo's Lab 42 now, have been since last March. So we've got sort of professional UK developers helping us build out the game and make it sort of structurally stronger, and more up to the challenge of having sort of 25 million down installs. So we've done that. When Tomas first released the game, it had sort of 9 levels, which Tomas created, and they're what we consider to be the core levels of the game. When Forest, which is the new level, goes out at the end of May, that's going to be our 17th level. And really what where Thomas really helps is that he'll drive the strategy behind the game. So, and because it's been so successful, we're very, very happy to take a lead from Thomas on all things strategic around the game. So, give you an example. Most publishers, if they've got a game that's this successful, would be thinking, let's put out paid DLC for it. It's an obvious one. It's what was in every publisher's playbook. We've never charged a penny for any of the additional levels at all. It's the same price now that it was back in 2016 when it was a single player 9-level indie game. And it's way more than that now. Since then we've built in console SKUs, we've got multiplayer, we've got workshop on PC, and actually all the later levels all come from creators on Steam. So we run competitions where the winner can win $10,000. We let the community judge it through a rating system that we built. And again, this is all Thomas's strategic idea. We implement it. And it's working really well for us. The creativity of the levels, they feel different to Thomas's levels, but it's a bit about what Thomas was saying with the emergent gameplay you get from putting physics systems in. The emergent creativity we get from putting workshop in is phenomenal. Our levels are just wonderful. The one that we've just released, the most recent one, City, was just absolutely superb. Very, very different from anything Thomas would have created. But again, very happy to publish that on every single SKU. And there are 29 and counting SKUs that we maintain right now. It's big.
The workshop stuff is that you've set me up for the next question. Thanks, Gary. So that's been fantastic. But did you expect what you've had, Thomas? Was that why did you want to do it? And has the results been what you expected?
Well, as most of the features that came post-launch, it's community asking for things and me unable to resist things they are asking. I had initial workshop prototype built quite early with the game. Once it launched on Steam, I started working on workshop prototype. But then I wanted to build and workshop prototype and more skins and more content and this and that. So it was almost abandoned somewhere halfway. While I was focusing more on multiplayer and supporting that. But then once we got the rest of the systems in place, with help of Curve, we continued implementing that vision, what players have been asking for workshop. So yeah, the idea was quite early on, but implementation had some time to be actually delivered with the game.
But it was your original vision, wasn't it? I remember when we first talked about it, because the Steam pages were just workshop when memes running right through every comment. We couldn't say anything without someone saying workshop when. And Thomas's original vision was, ultimately this is where future content is going to come from, and ultimately this could be where future employees of No Breaks come from. We've certainly met some amazingly creative people through this process. And we've actually offered one of the creators a job, but he turned us down. he's a mature student. He's going on to, I think, a lot bigger and brighter things, and he just does this as a hobby. And in fact, he learnt Unity through workshop, and he's the creator of 2 of our levels and helped with one of the other levels. Tyler McVie, Gotcha, his pseudonym is. Really good chat. Yeah.
That's really cool. And I'm saying they turned you down. You said bigger and better things. I think it's bigger than 25 million smash it indie game. But
I think Tyler's on a very different trajectory. He's an incredibly bright person.
Well, I mean, what about? I mean, so you was there anything else that you started bringing into the game at the time? And actually, maybe before I get into that. Should we? I was looking this up. There's lobbies, there's levels, there's skins, and we're going to start using those terms. And I know that a number of people watching this won't know what you're talking about. So, just to sort of set it up for the people watching, what's the difference between those things?
A lobby. Thomas created a Christmas lobby back at the first sort of big Christmas period, and really that's it's a waiting room space where you can just do stuff and mess about while you're waiting for friends to turn up. So, you might be emailing, texting, contacting your mates to turn up. You wait there, and there's things you can do, things you can see limited. A level is a discrete piece of content within Human Fall Flat, and really it's kind of someone once described it as an escape the room with wobbly physics, and that's not a bad way of thinking about Human Fall Flat. There's a series of linear spaces through which you need to traverse. And the mechanics are, there's objects in the room. There's always multiple ways you can solve that problem of getting into the next space and getting into the next space. And ultimately, what you're experiencing is somebody's dreams. And that's why you constantly sort of fall into dreams all the time. So you don't die in Human Fall Flat. There's no, the success criteria is experiencing the whole dream. There's no failure. And that's really part of its joy. The skins, I think one of the reasons why Human's been so successful is that the human character is really quite blank. It's very blank. It's white. It's featureless. So you can project onto that your own character, your own thoughts, and skins are a way of helping with that. So right from the get-go, you're able to create your own skins. A very simple editor, and then we commission and create skins ourselves. They typically are professions, jobs that you might be doing, and we also run competitions recently. We ran a dress to impress competition with our friends at Steel Series, where we got people to, because not everybody can use Photoshop, so we put templates, 2D templates out on the web, asked people to color them in. We selected 10 winners. We got the community to vote on the short list, and then the final winners. And they all received a really good goodie bag of Steel Series kit, which is top notch. So yeah, skins are important, lobbies are important, and levels comprise Human Fall Flat.
I would like to add a little bit about lobbies. Why are we talking about lobbies at all? Lobby is an interactive place where you can meet with other players. So it's not UI type of lobby. So basically it's a small world like level. And the original Christmas level was where you could shoot fireworks and bring gifts and throw them into dispenser. And it was collective gold to collect, I can't remember now, 100,000 gifts or something like that for skins to unlock. So there were Christmas themed skins, and community was throwing gifts and collecting gifts to unlock stuff together. That was nightmare of Christmas because I had to supervise the servers, the back end, eating Christmas dinner with my family. I had a laptop which would turn red if someone was trying to DDoS the server or things like that. But still, the philosophy of Human Fall Flat is that you are never interrupted. So as soon as the character drops on the loading screen, it's interactive. Even though he's falling through menus and UI, you can rotate, look around. When you drop into lobby, you continue with the same character who is alive, and then you drop into level, and through the levels, there are no loading screens and things like that. So the whole philosophy is to never take away the agency from player, and that's why we needed lobby to arrange multiplayer somehow.
That's really cool. And this is so you had these things, and is that what you did? Because you went to 5 million, I think, by 2019, I think it was 5 million, and now it's just gone through the pandemic year. It's just soared the game. Was it primarily skins, lobbies, levels that you did, or was there other development things that you worked on to help facilitate that growth?
Well, I mean, we've as you can imagine, we've got a whole load of presentations on this, which we sort of do to numerous people inside Curve and investors and partners when we're talking about it. And one thing that's clear when you look at the data, every time we release a piece of content, we see a spike in sales. Our partners are also been really good with us as well, because when as they've seen now over the year, we do about sort of between 4 and 5 content drops a year. And we also participate in the other sales as well. But every time we release a piece of content, they'll help us with promos because they know it works, and they know that their audiences love this free content that they're getting as well. So yeah, we can directly see that. And it's really just been a question of constantly trying to bring content that's different, that's engaging, that's fresh and free. And that's really important because it means that, people who are coming to the game for the first time, they can all play with any other player they see on the web. They're not restricted by what content sets they've owned or have bought into, and that really is a philosophy that Thomas holds entirely dear. I think initially Curve might have wanted to do it differently, but the success came so quickly that we're super happy, and we've actually deployed that onto other games as well and seen the benefit of it. And I think two things we've done, and this has been I think what Curve's done really well is network with its partners around the world. So we've had a platform proliferation, difficult to say, and also a territory proliferation. So, we've pushed really hard with partners into Japan, where we've recently announced that we've sold over 1 million units in Japan. It's one of the top indie games in Japan. It's doing really well on Switch, physical distribution there as well. China's a big market for us. We've worked that really hard as well. So and I think China's been a really interesting market for us because it's, as we've done research and trying to understand, why people love it and what they think about it, and we've done a really lovely piece of research with Harris Interactive. We looked at China and we looked at the US. We polled about 3,000 people in each territory. And what came back was that, and if you look at our social numbers in China, we've got the stature of the real big games like Roblox and Minecraft, and Human Fall Flat is very much up there, in terms of how they love it. It was really, they see it as their real first indie game. It's described as the father of indie games that sort of set a trail, which, Party Animals is about to follow, and other games have gone down as well. But we did really well there, and what we've done is to make sure we partner with the right people. So we partner with Perfect World on PC, we partner with Jingdong Networks on mobile through our partners at 505, and that's been absolutely brilliant. That's really worked really well.
You're racing through my questions, Gary. I'm going. No, I'm happy. Well, I will go back a little bit, just in case Thomas wanted to add something about the development stuff that you've introduced in the last 18 months, 12 months or so. Was there anything in particular that you've managed to introduce, Thomas, that's worked for you?
Well, multiplayer worked.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, most of the things worked. What did not work, especially in the initial phases, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos and Twitch streams of the game, and was watching closely what works, what does not work, what players expect to work. So, for example, there is puzzle where players think that they should be able to do something, but I did not make it available, or a jump is just a little bit too short to make it. Then I would come and make it work. So either make it less inviting, or in most cases just try to support players with their ideas, what they want to achieve. So yeah, whatever is not working, by watching players do it, you can make it work.
Yeah, you can always. Yeah, well, that's what game development is these days, isn't it? Trying something, getting it a bit right, a little bit wrong, and then learning and developing from it. I think Ian Livingston says failure's success, work in progress, which is a thing I like. Well, let's go back to China then, because Gary, you talked about this quite a bit, and I'm not sure how much we got more to add really, but how actually big has China been for Human Fall Flat?
Well, I mean, on Steam, which is the dominant platform in China, it typically accounts for around 60% of our sales on Steam globally. And through that we've been able to launch onto Steam China. We're one of the launch titles there. We've done a deal. Someone's come to the front door. It's my dog saying hello to the postman, I think. We've got a relationship with Jingdong Networks that launched on mobile in December and has already sold 3 million units. It's a significantly successful game in China, and the Chinese gamers, what they love about it is slightly nuanced, in a nuanced way. It's very different to what we saw in the US. In China, it's all about the social interactivity, and they absolutely adore the fact that there aren't any win conditions. And we also know that a lot of our gamers they use Human Fall Flat as a somewhat of a spa, somewhat of a recreational place, a safe space away from the more fractious experiences. So PUBG, for example, is a massive overlap with Human Fall Flat. And if you think about it, it's a similar time core loop, sort of 20 minutes for a game. You can play it in sort of typically in groups of 8, will band together. And if you think about the emotional experience of playing PUBG and the fact that you've got the anticipation, the excitement, the adrenaline, and then the failure, that's kind of the loop. For them to, this is what came out in the research, for them to go and talk about PUBG, which is probably the main game, they love to come and socialize in Human Fall Flat. And they hang out, they have a laugh, they really enjoy it. So that's been a really important part of understanding deep down why people keep coming back and why we keep getting so many new players. It's that it provides something that's really quite unique in the marketplace, through its sensitivity, through the humor, through the collaboration, through the friendship and the fun. There's lots of games will offer you multiplayer, but not many of them will offer you a place where you just go to have a laugh.
That of all the comparisons to Human Fall Flat, PUBG wasn't the thing that jumped immediately to mind.
Yeah, it's really interesting. If you talk to most developers, as I have over the last sort of 20 odd years doing acquisitions at various companies, most developers all start out with the premise of like, how am I going to make a game that's going to be the most important game in people's lives? Well, actually, the most successful game I've ever worked on, Human Fall Flat, is a game which complements people's gameplay tastes. And what we find is that, people have one game in the research that they want to get good at, the get good game, the one they measure themselves as gamers on. But they also have games that they take a break from that on, and they socialize with the same group of friends. And that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an amazing game. I mean, from so many, it's broken the rule book and rewritten the rule book in so many different ways, from the commercial playbook that Thomas handed to us and we've ran with, through to the network of, the behind the scenes, there's a whole network of companies that we've talked about, a few of them already, but that have got us to the 25 million, that have all found success with different audiences on different platforms. There's something inherently, wonderful about Human Fall Flat that resonates with lots of different people for lots of different reasons. But I think the core comes back to, as I say, that non-competitiveness, the friendliness, and the joy that people take from the game.
Well, what you said earlier about how it's been very popular in China through Steam and very popular in Japan through Switch, and it seems that it's you're finding audiences in different ways for different reasons. Thomas, does that make it hard to develop? When you're thinking about developing for a community and you've got these different communities that like different things that are playing on different platforms, does that create a headache, or is it the opposite? Is it actually it makes it, there are too many opportunities, you might say?
Well, I would lie if I would say that I knew the recipe to success. It's just trying to make something that you like and that you think people will like. But the biggest part, of course, is luck. So for me, it was really exciting to see how the game resonated with China or with Japan, because culturally we are so different. And while in Europe, there are still different countries perceive the game very differently. For example, French kind of like how the game looks. Germans like puzzles, and they argue which is the correct way because there are multiple ones. So someone likes music, again, based on countries, people are a bit different. But we are talking about totally different mentality. And for me, that they enjoy the game is really exciting. I'm so happy. Because if you play Japanese game, for example, from the first couple of minutes, you see that it's not European or US game. It has different camera, different cinematic story, characters, everything. And just to somehow ring something in that audience is really amazing.
Well, so what now, right? You've done 25 million, right? You've got 50 million in sight. Right. What's okay? Let's talk about 2021 to begin with. What are you doing? What are you doing right now for the game?
Sorry, Thomas, carry on.
Oh, okay. We will continue what we did so far. So bring more competitions, more opportunities for community to express themselves, more levels, more skins, and it's mostly to publishing team to reach the next 25 million of players, because the game is there. We can add small things. It will not change the game dramatically, but there are still people out there who are not aware that the game exists. And, it's only so much I can do about it.
So on you, Gary.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny, when you talk to partners about sort of the longevity of Human Fall Flat, it's, as I say, just rewrite a lot of rule books. It doesn't show any sign of slowing down. I mean, I think you described 2020 as a sort of a breakout year, and really it was a good year for us in the game in terms of getting new players, but it's kind of on a very steep accelerating curve. And last year, was brilliant, but this year so far is looking like it's going to be a repeat performance of continued success, which is great. And I think, who knows how long it can carry on selling at this rate for. I guess, we'll find out. But we've always got another 3 or 4 opportunities on the horizon for either new platforms or new partners or new territories where we can push. So yeah, we're busy. And it's yeah, and again, as big as we are, we're still, I think, a long way away from getting towards some of the games that are way bigger than us. So we still think there's room to grow yet, definitely.
Well, I think it's done very well. I think it's done better than a lot of AAA games. But yes, well, I am sure, I know that there's obviously a lot of growth in that. Well, I'll wrap up then, because there was so much talk about the success of this game, and we could talk about it for ages. And I'm sure there's lots of developers that will have lots of questions for you over the course. Like, how can we do this? I remember 10 years ago or maybe 5 years ago, I can't remember how long ago it was, when indie games were becoming much more of a thing, and all the publishers were trying to find the next Minecraft, and everyone, no one's going to find the next Minecraft. But those games are appearing in Human Fall Flat and stuff. We're starting to see some of that. So it's really good. But deviated off there. What's been your favourite memory or moment, standout moment, perhaps, working on Human Fall Flat so far? It's a question for both of you. What's been your standout moment? Thomas, should we go with you? Tricky question.
For me, actually, quite strange moment was seeing boxed versions of the game. It was kind of realizing that this is actually a real game, because I was never in AAA or any big game industry, and it was more like experiment. And even though you have players and success and everything, but seeing a box with a game, it was like realizing, okay, that is a game.
Yeah, I remember when I as a journalist, when you see your name in a printed title for the first time. That's so much different. It's just, I don't know why. Nobody can explain why. It's just so different when you see it. So you show your mum, it's that kind of thing. What are you, Gary?
I think for me it was, and I can't tell you the milestone because it's would break all sorts of confidentiality rules. But when I was at Sega, I worked on Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and that was my biggest game. And when we passed that number, that was a really proud moment. I loved that. Because I had a lot more. I was part of a big team at Sega that worked on that, but I was incredibly proud of working on that game. But when Human Fall Flat surpassed that was a really proud moment. I think that, and seeing the first time it appeared on Japanese TV on primetime on a game show, where they get celebrities in and they play a game and they talk about it whilst they're playing the game, and seeing the fun they were having, and that going out at primetime, that was also quite special, I think.
Well, it's been a phenomenal journey, and congratulations on the success so far. And I really hope it continues. And I think it's a great case study for everybody on how to develop a game with your community and become hugely successful. And I hope it continues. I'm sure it will. So thank you, Thomas, and thank you, Gary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, thanks.
I hope everyone at home found it useful. Curve around at the show. So if you want to ask them questions and speak to them and ask how you can become the next Human Fall Flat, I'm sure they'll tell you exactly how to do it. Next up, join me at the top of the hour for a chat. I spoiled it a little bit earlier. Session with VLAN Studios, the creators of Mario Kart Live and the upcoming Knockout City. Later in the Discord, we have roundtables with Kickstarter and Transcend Fund. And then we have an AMA with industry legend John Romero. There's further sessions with Lightspeed Ventures, Amy Wu later on. And I'll be interviewing another industry legend in Peter Moore as well. And that's all before we reveal the winners of the Indie Publishing Awards. So it's a big day for us. But until then, have a great show and I'll see you soon.